Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be 5 quick reviews of some new foundations I've been trying over the past couple of months, and each one I have tested out very thoroughly. So I've tried them all with a damp beauty sponge, a brush, applying them with my fingers, over different primers and things like that. So I have a really good idea of which ones worked for me and which ones didn't. So there's going to be a few that I absolutely hated, and one that's kind of okay, and then 2 that I actually liked. So I'm going to go in order from the worst one to the best one. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So let's start with the one that I liked the least, and that would be the new Revlon Full Cover Foundation. This is awful, at least for me. I mean, I have seen a few good reviews on it, but I've also seen some pretty terrible ones, and I have to say this did not work for me at all. So I'm going to read you the claims really quickly, and then I'll tell you about my experience. So this claims to be a full coverage matte finish that lasts up to 24 hours. It says a comfortable wear that moves with your skin without flaking or caking, easy to apply and blend seamlessly. So this is one of those mousse type of foundations, but the one thing I will say is I did enjoy the feel of it, because a lot of mousse foundations have a more powdery finish that can look dry on my dry skin. This one doesn't seem to have that powdery finish to it. It feels more like a primer, like a silicone primer that would have a tint to it. So it does apply very smoothly over the skin, just like a primer would. However, I would not ever call this full coverage, not in a million years. It's sheer to medium at best. I felt like everything was still showing through. My freckles, dark spots, the redness around my nose. It didn't cover almost anything. I thought it was very sheer, and for some reason you cannot build this up either, because the layer that's underneath just moves around. If you try to add another layer, this just seems to sort of pick up what's underneath. It kind of just feels like layering a primer on top of a primer. It has that really slippery, slick feel to it, and no matter what method I used, whether it was a beauty blender or a brush or my fingers, it did the same thing. It would just pick up the underneath layer, and also on top of that, it does not work well with primers at all. All of the primers that I tried underneath this just made the problem even worse, where this just sort of broke up as soon as I tried to apply it. So I did have the best luck just using it by itself. But if you're wanting to pick this up because you think that it's full coverage, as the name suggests, it's definitely not full coverage, and it's not buildable either. So I consider this one a huge fail, at least for me. I just couldn't make it work no matter what I did. So then the next one on my list that I really did not enjoy is the Pur Cosmetics 4-in-1 Foundation Stick. This is pretty new, and it basically says it's a 4-in-1 medium to full coverage foundation that is formulated with age-defying complex and skin-nourishing energy complex to help color correct and brighten the appearance of uneven skin tone, retain hydration, reduce the look of pores and dullness, and protect against environmental stressors, skin fatigue, and signs of aging. It's 360-degree complexion perfection. So that sounded like a dream to me. I've always wanted a stick foundation that would work for me, but pretty much everyone I try just doesn't. I think because by its very nature, it's thick cream formula that sits on top of my skin, and I just don't enjoy formulas like that. I prefer ones that sink into and sort of become one with my skin and look more natural. And this, just like the rest of them, no matter if I blended it with a damp beauty blender or used a brush or my fingers, any type of method that I used, it still just looked kind of heavy and like it was sitting on top, and it highlighted all of my texture, the pores around my nose. It sank into my lines on my forehead. It just did not look good. It looked like a mask, and especially when I went outside after I had been wearing it for a little while, like I feel like it looked okay in the bathroom when I first applied it, but throughout the day it just tended to sort of break up on me, and like I said, it looked kind of really heavy like a mask. It's possible that a different skin type, maybe somebody who is younger, doesn't have the fine lines and wrinkles, or someone who doesn't have texture issues, maybe a more oily skin type, since this is more of a drier matte finish, might enjoy this more. But for my drier, more mature skin, it really just did not work at all. Plus, it's pretty expensive. It was $34 for this little stick. So this is definitely a pass for me as well. Number 3 on my list is the Physicians Formula Healthy Skin Foundation. This one I actually really wanted to like, and it sounds like it's going to be really great. It says it has SPF 20, long-wearing, buildable, and breathable foundation that provides lightweight, medium to full coverage with a healthy satin finish. It says that it's compatible with all skin types, has a brightening complex and hyaluronic acid to hydrate, brighten, and improve the appearance of skin tone. It also has vitamins A, C, and E for a flawless, healthy coverage. Actually, I was impressed with the shade range on this as well, because Physicians Formula is kind of known for having really bad shade options. Usually they have maybe 3 to 5 shades total, and this one actually had 12 shades, I believe, so pretty good. It's definitely a step in the right direction for them. So this one actually has a large doe foot applicator, very similar to the Neutrogena Hydra Boost foundation, which I really enjoy in the summertime especially. That one is very like refreshing. It feels like water on your skin, and it just gives a really beautiful light coverage, and I used that one all last summer and I really enjoyed it. This one I feel like has a little bit more coverage than that one does, and it doesn't have the same refreshing cooling sensation when you apply it. But as I was applying this, I really felt like it nourished my dry skin. It felt really nice going on, and it looked great in the mirror when I first applied it. But throughout the day, this one again was enhancing texture on my skin, and I realized that that's because it actually has a little bit of shimmer to it and a little bit of sparkle. And then I realized this reminded me a lot of the new Flower Beauty Light Illusion foundation, which I did a video on a few months back, and that was another one that I really liked at first, until I realized when I went outside it didn't look the same as it did in the mirror at home, because it does have that really fine shimmer, and if you have any kind of texture or fine lines, it's going to sort of magnify those and enhance them. And I also thought that this one did sit on top of my skin as well. It didn't seem to like mesh and become one with my skin, which I really prefer in a foundation. So for this one, I felt like it was just okay. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't terrible like the other ones, and I feel like I could still wear this one, I guess, especially if I'm not going to be going outside, or maybe if it's in the evening time. I did think that the coverage was decent. I think it was like a sort of light to medium coverage, but it's not something that I would wear on an everyday basis, especially if I was going to be outside, because it really does not look good in the daylight. Okay, so now we're getting into the top two that I really enjoyed. The first one is the Essence Fresh and Fit Awake Makeup. This one is so affordable. It's $6.99. Unfortunately, it only comes in 4 shades, so it has a terrible shade range, but I was actually able to find one that worked well for me. This one, let's see what the claims are. It says it gives a healthy, glowing complexion, wake up your skin with light reflecting pigments. Medium coverage foundation is enriched with a vitamin complex and cranberry water. So this one I would definitely agree is a more medium coverage, but despite having the light reflecting pigments, it does not seem to accentuate any texture on my face like the Physicians Formula one did. It's so strange, because when you swatch it, it does kind of have that little bit of like a glow to it, and most of the time glowy foundations do not work for me now that I'm older, but strangely, this one actually does, and I get compliments on my skin when I wear this one. I guess it's just enough of those light reflecting pigments to sort of smooth over and blur everything without drawing attention to it. So I really like this one. It's also dry skin friendly. It feels really hydrating, and it sinks right in no matter what method I use. I mean, I prefer to use a beauty blender, but I've also just applied this with my fingers and it works just as well. You get a little bit more coverage out of it if you use a brush, but any way that I've used this, it actually looks like skin. So I really enjoy this one a lot. If you can find a shade that works for you, this is definitely a recommendation, especially if you have drier, duller skin and you just want like that little bit of a glow. It's really pretty. And then number 1 on my list, and my favorite foundation lately, is the new Cokie Cosmetics Skin Perfect HD Foundation. This one claims to be high performance and high definition, provides a medium to full coverage that finishes into a natural looking semi-matte finish, available in 18 beautiful shades to help find your perfect match. Expect long lasting, non-cakey, comfortable wear. So this one is absolutely, the claims are 100% true. This has the most beautiful skin-like finish. It has no shimmer. It just has that beautiful semi-matte finish that's the perfect medium between looking dry and looking too shiny. It's absolutely gorgeous. It just looks like skin, and that's what I am looking for when it comes to a foundation. It just melts beautifully into the skin no matter what method I apply it with, but how I apply it just depends on how much coverage I need that day. Most of the time I use the Beauty Blender because I don't need a ton of coverage, but this one builds up really nicely, and it just builds upon itself without looking cakey. It is just such a beautiful formula, especially if you have drier skin or more mature skin. I think you'll really enjoy the formula of this one because, again, it just looks so super natural, and I love the coverage on it because I don't necessarily need a full coverage, but it can be built up if I need a little bit of extra, like around my nose, under my eyes, things like that. I also don't notice this one breaking up on me at all. It lasts a really long time, pretty much all day. I would say 8 to 10 hours at least. I don't normally wear foundations for longer than that, but just wearing it throughout the day, I don't notice like it wearing off very easily around my nose, which a lot of foundations do. So this one is amazing. It's my favorite foundation that I've tried in a long time, and it's also really affordable. Alright guys, so that was my 5 quick reviews on these new foundations that I've been testing out recently. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions on the formulas that I didn't address, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also if you take a minute to hit the subscribe button, then you'll be notified of future videos. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.